You don't need the.
I'm doing this my way.
He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Fucking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't fuck
legend.
it up later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and I have my new Evil Geniuses jersey, but it's cold, so I also have a robe, because cool people wear robes, and I don't know, that's kind of all I got for that one. But we had the LEC, we had the LCS, a lot of interesting games today. But in this video, we're going to take a look at the games from today. We're also going to take a look at the 5 games from tomorrow, and we're going to take a look at the futures bets that I made yesterday on Bet365, which is the only sports book that I trust right now. So, let's start in the LEC. I believe it's week 4. Was this it? I'm pretty sure this was it, right? Yeah. Okay, so yesterday I picked Misfits to beat SK Gaming, Mad Lions to beat BDS, which should have lost, Vitality to beat Astralis, Fnatic to beat XL, but Humanoid is way too good at League of Legends and lost to XL. And then we had, I picked G2. I thought G2 had an interesting spot against Rogue as an underdog, but Rogue ended up winning. There were a few takeaways that I had. It's also kind of a, like, looking back at the differences in 80 carries. So Aphelios against Varus, this is the kind of game that I would expect to go over. Jhin against Aphelios, this is the kind of game that I would expect to go over. Aphelios Jhin over. Zeri against Jinx went under. I don't know much about Zeri, but let's go all through this again. So we had a Renekton, Diana, Yasuo. That's a really good combination of champions because you spike really hard in the early game, and then you still have the late game insurance of Aphelios and Thresh. So that's a realistic draft, and I don't think that they necessarily won the game from draft, but it was a good enough draft. Mad Lions. So Unforgiven should have kind of thrown the game away. There was a dragon fight where Mad Lions took a dragon, and then for no reason at all, Unforgiven walks away on his own and then gets killed, and then the rest of the team kind of gets killed. They lose dragon, they lose Baron off of that, and BDS wasn't able to convert that into a win. So that's more of a BDS problem than a Mad Lions win, in my opinion. In the next game, Vitality against Astralis. Vitality should have probably lost this game. I saw that they were losing in the early game, but it was Jhin against Aphelios, so I put in a live bet at $100 at -150. It was probably about 10 minutes into the game, and I sucked out hard. Like, there's no way that I should have won any money on that bet, but sometimes you get lucky, and that was definitely getting lucky. This is a spot where if I was paying more attention during the pick ban phase, I probably would have tried to bet on XL. I did. The thought did cross my mind, but I was also in the middle of a FIFA match, so I didn't want to stop that to put in a bet. But I do think that it is a very good advantage to get in the draft to have a hyper scaling 80 carry. Another champion that seems to be very important right now, especially in the LCS, is Gwen, but we can talk about that in the C9 game. And then the last game, this was funny because Mickey was like a guest commentator during the draft, and right after the draft he said that G2 won the draft really hard. It should be an easy game because they first picked TF. They got Lee Sin for Yonkos, which Mickey was saying he's good at Lee Sin. And then I guess Zeri's been pretty good in scrims and solo queue, so people are excited to see what Zeri can do on the pro stage. There are better AD carries at Zeri, like Danny, number one, Evil Geniuses. So that was kind of tilting. Because I had a bet on G2, I think. Were they my last leg of the parlay? No, I guess not. But they lost. I'm pretty sure I put in a parlay for that. Whatever. No big deal. You older bets. I hate when they send me to that. All right. Yeah, so I won the Vitality bet. I bet G2 outright. I lost that one. And then in the LCS, I had a 5-game parlay. CLG lost to FlyQuest. We'll talk about that. I had 100 Thieves as the underdog. I won that. And I had Golden Guardians money line against Cloud9 after the draft because I'm an idiot. So let's talk about the 5 games that we saw in the LCS. So Evil Geniuses beat TSM. They looked pretty convincing in that match. Impact got slapped around a little bit in the early game and mid game, but did fine. Danny had a pentakill at the end of the game. Senna is supposedly a counter to Zeri. You could have fooled me. Game 2, FlyQuest against CLG. So FlyQuest pulled out the Janna top where you're not farming your lane. They dove bot lane like 5 times. Contracts had 8 deaths. He looked absolutely horrible, which is not completely surprising to me, unfortunately. I don't like this kind of draft from CLG because they first picked Caitlyn, and I don't care if other regions think it's strong or if other players think it's strong. If Luger is supposed to be the carry of your team, you really shouldn't put them onto Caitlyn. Like, why not get an Aphelios or a Jinx first overall? Because in that scenario, even if FlyQuest goes for Janna, you'll have win conditions. Like, Janna's just one more squishy champion that can give you resets for Aphelios and Jinx. Like, why not play through that kind of style? But that's what their plan was going into draft, so that's kind of concerning to me. And then we had 100 Thieves against Team Liquid. This was, like, in my mind, this was the easiest spot of the day because Team Liquid obviously just won lock-in and beat Evil Geniuses. I like 100 Thieves at plus odds in that matchup, so I kind of bet that one with no hesitation. Not really much more to say about that. There was nothing exceptional that happened in the game. Abadage really didn't look that great on Azir. There were 1 or 2 times where he had good Azir ultimates, but then there were a few other times where he had bad ones. Then we had Golden Guardians against Cloud9. Golden Guardians, I don't know why I thought to myself that I should bet against Cloud9 outside of the fact that it seemed like a difficult comp to execute. Because I live bet this after the draft, and then like we're 2 minutes in the game. I honestly didn't even think about Golden Guardians part of the draft. I was just looking at Cloud9's playing Ivern mid into Victor, and I thought that was going to be like really bad. But it just didn't matter. And the time that Golden Guardians needed to execute perfectly in order to win the game was around a dragon fight where Aphelios had probably 20% health left. Licorice goes in, like, slice and dices towards the Aphelios, flash W's, and, like, instantly gets rid of a shield, tries to hit a Q, and, like, just finish off the last bit of health, but he had just enough health to survive. And then you had the double enchanters healing him up again. So that was pretty tilting to watch. That was really the last chance they had in that game. And again, just playing Renekton, playing Kiana in the jungle, Pride Stalker went for some like flash ultimates and stuff like that. Like not even around important timings. Like they would get a kill and then nothing would happen with it because they didn't do it around a dragon or around a Rift Herald, which admittedly it's more difficult to find those kinds of picks during that time because people are paying a little bit more attention. And then in the last game, the scoreboard's not up, but we had Dignitas beat up on Immortals. And just a reminder, Immortals is building around Revenge, and that is the face of a team that has Revenge as their main player. That was not Revenge, that was Power of Evil, but that's the face of the teammates of Revenge, who is the centerpiece of their team, which is just so funny. I can't believe it. Biofrost with a little BM, he has all the fairy charms, it's pretty funny. That was a stomp. So let's take a look at what's going on tomorrow in the LCS. And drink some water. So first up, we have 100 Thieves against CLG. If CLG can't beat FlyQuest, I don't think they're going to beat 100 Thieves. I'm fine just taking 100 Thieves and not thinking twice about it. TSM against Dignitas. This seems like a spot where you could go for Dignitas, but I think that TSM is the right side. They are still the more talented team, and they did actually look pretty... They looked okay, considering they were up against Evil Geniuses. I thought that it was just a tough spot for them. I think that Poppy is just a noob trap because the teams that are good at it have reasons they're doing it, and TSM used it against, like, I get that it stops Jarvan, I get that it can stop a Leona, maybe it stops Gwen once, but, or like when Zeri's jumping over a wall, but that's not what you want Spica to do. You don't want to do that. So if you're draft, if you're thinking to yourself, well, if they pick Jarvan, we need to pick Poppy, then you should ban Jarvan, because there's no way that he should put that much of a restriction onto your jungle champion pool. But I think that I would definitely be on the TSM side there. I know that it does seem really thin. Like I do think that Dignitas is a live dog, and I could see them winning this game, but I think that Huni is still better than Fake God. I think that Spica and River will be a good matchup. Blue against Kaido. I don't know a ton about Kaido still, but I thought he did fine in this game. Tactical against Neo. So Tactical and Shenyi against Neo and Biofrost. The one thing that somebody was talking about the other day was the Shenyi being a substitute for FPX and was like extremely aggro. We saw a little bit of that today, but I think it's going to be much more extreme in the future, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. That is potentially a problem because when you play a tank support into an enchanter support, it does make everything much more volatile. So if they like hard in level 1 or level 2, the lane could become unplayable for them. So that is one thing to watch out for. Evil Geniuses against Cloud9. Obviously, I'm on Evil Geniuses' side. C9 looked good, and I think that C9 will play a similar kind of composition tomorrow in the draft, because I don't think LS is going to go back and forth. It's going to be very interesting to see what LS does. I think that LS is going to stick to his guns and keep doing stuff like this until they lose. So it doesn't really matter to me. I think that Evil Geniuses is good enough to play the early game in an aggressive manner to punish Cloud9, but I also think that Evil Geniuses can go toe-to-toe in a scaling game. It'll be a very interesting match to watch because of that decision that Evil Geniuses will have to make during the draft. So we'll have to wait and see, but I like Evil Geniuses as a team more. I like the talent more. But we kind of got everything we wanted out of the first C9 game. FlyQuest against Golden Guardians. So we have Licorice against Kumo, pretty even. Pride Stalker against Jose Dioto. Blaze Olive against Takui. Lost and Ale against Johnson and Afro Moo. I'm pretty tempted to pick Golden Guardians here, so I think I will. And then Immortals against Team Liquid. I'm not picking against Team Liquid. I can't make my bet. I can't make my bet on here. Okay. But let's take a look at the futures that I got in, and then we'll end the video. So, first, on Bet365, you can bet on teams to reach the playoffs. I think that CLG at plus 900 is insane. I love this bet. $50. $50 to win 500. So it's like it's you win 450 and get your $50 back. I love this bet. All you need is for CLG to be top 6, and I think that they do have the talent to do it. So that's a bet that I like a lot. Evil Geniuses to win the spring split plus 550, 325. Not a great number. That's more like I have to bet it because it's the Evil Geniuses. I have 100 Thieves at plus 600. So again, I like that a decent amount. When you combine all of my, let's just keep going. Dignitas at plus 4,000. I don't really think that Dignitas has a great chance to win, but getting down $20 on a team that I think will be in the playoffs is going to give me chances to hedge out of this bet and guarantee some money, which is fine with me. And then same thing, CLG. I just think that the odds are too high. Like plus 20,000 on any team to win the championship is somewhat enticing. But the fact that I think that CLG will make the playoffs, like I was saying yesterday, if it's a random team, then it's 16% or something like that, 16.6 repeating, and that's going to be a number that the book kind of has to offer me an okay buyout. So then if you look at all my LCS bets, it's 20, 40, 60, $210. I have $210 on futures, which is fine. I love the CLG one. I think that could pay for everything pretty fast. Obviously not a great day one performance, but I am hopeful that it ends up being good for me. Then we go to the LCK. There's no LEC yet, by the way, so we'll go to the LCK. I have 3 bets. I have Nongshim to win the spring split. Nongshim's a good team. It's basically you have Damwon, T1, and Genji, and then you have Nongshim, KT Rolster, DRX. Those are the only 6 teams that have any chance of winning the championship. So I figured I'll have probably 3 out of the 6 final teams in the gauntlet, and then I'm just rooting for upsets, looking for hedging opportunities to get my money back, worst case scenario. And I don't know. I just wanted to have some futures out there, so I have this $20, $60. If I lose $60, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. Then we go to the LPL. And the LPL is really interesting right now because there are a lot of teams at the top of the table who don't look convincingly great. So like Top Esports, for example, is struggling. LNG obviously looks really good, but their odds are too short. I don't want to get my sheet out. LNG, EDG, like you can't get down money on them and feel good about hanging it out there for 2 months. There's just not a big enough payoff at the end of it, in my mind. So I went to more of the middle of the table teams and teams that I think will be in the playoffs, and then I'll just hope that they have a hot run in the playoffs. So we have Billy Billy Gaming. I'm not sure if Doggo or Uzi is going to be playing after the break. I don't really care. I think that as time goes on, they'll probably just let Doggo play more and more. I get the whole Uzi thing, but I'd be surprised if Uzi's better than Doggo right now. Next up, we have Weibo Gaming, aka The Shining. So we have The Shy, SFM, Angel, Huanfeng, and Sword Art. Sword Art and On have both kind of been, I think On has been playing more. But I love Weibo Gaming. I'd be a fool not to get $20 on them. $200 on them. $20 on them. Not really. This is not the kind of odds that I'm looking for. But again, I just had to get $20 on them because I love Weibo Gaming. V5. We have Karsa Rookie Combo. You just have to hope that they can do something long term. So I'm fine putting $20 on them. FPX. I really don't believe in FPX. Like, this was a difficult one for me to convince myself to bet, but I figured that they will be into the playoffs, and it's an emotional hedge against the rest of the field and the rest of betting people saying that they like FPX. So I'm against them, but I'm with them. Like, if my worst fears come true and FPX wins the spring split, then I win money. JDG plus 3,300. I'm surprised that everybody's really low on JDG still. I know that they haven't looked convincing in some of their wins, and they have dropped some bad games, but 369 is underrated, Kanavi's underrated, Yagao's underrated, Hope is underrated. I think that it's just a good spot. Like, I don't think that it's a blow up spot. Like, I would be surprised if they win the finals, but if you told me Kanavi got hot in the playoffs and was able to carry his team, I wouldn't be shocked. Ultra Prime, I like Ultra Prime a lot because of Elk. I think that Elk and Xiaoxi are a really good combination. I don't have a ton of faith in Allies, Hacker, and Cryan, but I do believe in Elk. So maybe they can make it happen. And then the last team is OMG. So Makuya, Aki, Cream, Abel, Cold. Cream is really the reason why I wanted to make a bet on OMG at this point. I don't think it's very likely to happen. But again, I just want as many teams at longer odds in the playoffs as possible. So those are my futures picks. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.